And we are live. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to A Bookish Moment. I am your host for the day, Sarah Burr. My beloved co-host, JC Kenny, sends his regards. His poor day job has gotten him all out of sorts with our broadcast, but he will be joining us next week, so you'll look forward to catching up with him. So I get the pleasure of hanging out today solo with the wonderful Paula Charles, who is joining us here on A Bookish Moment. Paula also writes as Janna Rollins, and she has written some amazing cozy mystery series that we get to dive into today. But before we get too far into our conversation, I do want to say hello to our wonderful viewers who are joining us this afternoon. We have got Sarah saying hello, Ryan saying hello, Mizan saying hi, everyone, and Farmhouse Reader saying good afternoon. Thank you so much, guys, for being here. We really appreciate it. If you have any questions for Paula, please feel free to pop them in the chat. Paula, welcome back to our show. You had visited us, I believe, last year after the release of both the debuts in these series. We had Hammers and Homicide and The Escape Goat that we were celebrating. And so it's really fun to have a full circle moment to be able to talk about books 2 in each series with you today. So thank you so much for being here.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. Though we do boo-hoo-hoo miss JC.
We do.
But you'll still have a great time with him in our memory.
Well, he's not dead, so.
No, he's not dead.
Our comedic relief. Hopefully, I have to wear 2 hats. It's like, oh man, being funny is a challenge, and we can actually dive into that a little bit because you've got a lot of humor in your writing, and being able to kind of parse out how easy or how hard is it to write humor. But before we get too far into the craft, for folks who may have missed you on our first show or haven't come across your work at this point in time, mind introducing yourself to our audience members?
Yes, excuse me. I have a little bit of a frog today. I'm Paula Charles. I write the Hometown Hardware Cozy Mystery Series, which is set in Northeastern Oregon, the fictionalized hometown where I grew up. So I currently live in Southwestern Washington, just across the Columbia River from Portland, Oregon. And I often say that I'm a misplaced Oregon. I'm an Oregonian misplaced on the wrong side of the river because the Columbia River separates the 2 states. So yeah, I write the Hometown Hardware Mysteries, and then as Janna Rollins, my alter ego, I write the Zen Goat Mysteries that feature Callie Haybeck, who is a 27-year-old goat yoga instructor in New Hampshire.
I mean, you have Donna Carpenter, who the fact that her last name is Carpenter and she owns a hardware store is cozy mystery perfection. And then we have Callie, who is on the East Coast, Zen Goat Yoga, which I have not participated in. However, I think a couple weeks after you were on the show, Paula, my husband did puppy yoga, and just had puppies running around. And so I was like, oh my God, we talked about animal yoga on the Bookish Hour. Yeah. So we've got 2 very different characters, but there's so much that I think of, maybe I would assume, that is your heart and soul in each of them, so that readers who may be familiar with you as Janna Rollins versus Paula Charles, it's they need to come and meet both of these guys together because you've just created these fabulous, wonderful worlds. We're going to talk first about Ask Me No Questions, which is book 2 in the Hometown Hardware series. Beautiful cover. Oh my gosh, it looks so good. And of course, I have to tip my hat to the punny title. Even reading the book description, where you have the that's an axe to grind, and will Donna get axed next? I was like, oh my gosh, so many good puns. Love it. One thing that really sticks out to me when entering Donna's world is she just has so much love for her community, and the fact that we get this fun festival that you have organized for readers to attend to kind of kick off our mystery. I'm wondering if you could share a little bit about where we find Donna after the events of book one, and this cool festival that she gets to participate in.
Sure. So this is, like Sarah mentioned, it's the second book in the series. It is set in early October at the Timber Festival, where Donna literally stumbles over the body of one of the lumberjacks with his own throwing axe in his chest. The Timber Festival came from, like I said, I fictionalized my own hometown where I grew up. And made it into Pine Bluff so that I could have my way with everything. But when I was growing up, we had a timber festival in town. And I mean, it ended, I was probably 8, maybe the last time that they had the timber festival, but I've always remembered it and how much fun it was, and knew when I started writing this series that it was one thing that I wanted to bring back. So that's how the timber festival happened. I honestly don't remember if there was lumberjack contests, but I'm going to say there probably was, because this is a very rural area with lots of logging, the sawmills there, the sawmill's still running, and it just makes sense that there would have been lumberjacks tossing axes around and climbing poles.
When I was reading this, I was just like, yeah, I like felt it so much in like my childhood, because even though like I grew up in New England, and it was a field trip, because I vividly remember like my class was there and we were on a field trip somewhere, and for some reason there was like lumberjacks around, and they were doing like these tree climbs. They were doing things where they were like flipping like huge logs in the air and like catching them. And our like little souvenir that we got to go home with was, you know, they had sliced up a piece, or they had sliced up a tree, and they gave us like bits of wood that we then had them autograph. And like,
Sure.
So I was just getting like all like, I like remember I was definitely old enough to like have crushes on people, because I was like, look at all these cute lumberjacks that I'm getting their autograph with. And I think it's like still somewhere in like my parents' barn. Because I was like, it was a cool day.
Yeah.
And so it's like such like a fun, like atmospheric scene that we get to step into. But the fact that like our murder investigation is like pretty grisly when it comes to like, oh man, like an axe to the chest, like that's pretty unfortunate. Now, tell us a little bit how, or I guess why, Donna is pulled into this particular investigation, kind of like what the stakes are for her this time around.
Well, Donna's very nosy Parker anyway, so she's going to pull herself into any investigation if she can. But this one in particular, she's, like I said, she actually stumbles over the lumberjack. She's involved with a women's service club in town who, in the first book, the Emory Theater played a big role. And they're still, the women's service club are still trying to raise funds to buy that building back for the town, excuse me as I stutter around, so that they can continue to have plays and the things that the Opera House was originally built for there. They want to restore it to its former glory. And they're almost there. They have just a little bit more funds before they reach their goal. And one of the things that they're doing, which they do in many small towns, including my own, is cookbook. They gather cookbooks from all of the women in the area. They gather all the recipes and they create these cookbooks that then they sell as a fundraiser. So along at the Timber Festival, where the lumberjack contest is taking place in the great big city park, there's vendor booths. It's early October, like I said, and there's a chainsaw artist, there's, pies and coffee and cake and just all kinds of artwork, all kinds of stuff. Vendor booths, and the Women's Service Club have a booth as well where they're selling these cookbooks. So Donna's best friend Yvonne is first up in charge of the booth that morning, but she's running out of cookbooks. So Donna promises her, we'll I'll bring you some. And that's what she's doing. She's carrying this heavy box of books. She couldn't find a parking place, so she's parked kind of outside of the park and has to make a beeline across the park.
Ooh.
And this box of books, she can't see around it. There's a stack of logs there that is ready for the lumberjack contest, and she comes around the stack of logs, can't see anything around her because of the box of books she's carrying, and stumbles over the lumberjack. So that's how she gets involved. And then, there's just the sheriff, or I call him chief of police. I always get confused of what I call him. Chief of police, JT Dallas, who is dating Donna's daughter, April, says, I'd like you to keep your eyes and ears open. And she takes that as full license to snoop. She's like, all right, I've got this.
Well, and I love it when there isn't like a contentious relationship with our sleuth and local law enforcement, because it's like, we've already got the murder that is kind of weighing us down. So it's like, we need to be like lifted up everywhere else. And so that's one thing that I absolutely love about your series, is that we don't have this like, Donna she has a good relationship with local law enforcement. And the fact that we have like this connection with her daughter makes it even like kind of like a more in the family type thing. And that's a great segue into April, because, Donna is an older sleuth.
Yes.
She is a widow. She is a mom, and her grown daughter like helps her with her investigations, which I think is such a fun relationship to show. When you first were kind of crafting the idea of Donna, did you always intend for her to have like her children having like them as sidekicks, or was that something that just kind of organically grew from them being involved in her life?
I think it just organically grew. I don't remember sitting down. I mean, I always knew that she needed a sidekick, and so I must have thought about it at some point. But I think I've mentioned before that Donna was based off of, or inspired by, I should say, my own grandmother, who ran the hardware store in the town where I grew up. So just thinking about her, I thought about, like my mom and stuff, and that's just, yeah, it kind of organically grew as her sidekick. Though her best friend Yvonne could be a co-sidekick as well, 'cause she gets involved.
I love that name. There's so many good names in your books, and kind of shifting to the Zen Goat Mysteries for a moment. And I had actually teased this during my lunchtime live that I had earlier today on my Facebook page. But your second book, which is Goats Just Want to Have Fun, I like have to like sing it, because it's just like, goats just want to have fun. Like, how can you not? And so I just want to, I would love to know, because, and the reason how I'm making this logical leap in my head is I'm thinking about character names. We've got Bugsy. We've got lots of like fun folks that we get to meet in Callie's world. So kind of shifting my question about Donna and her relationship with her daughter and being involved in those mysteries. How does Callie kind of work with her family? What are the relationships that are there in her New Hampshire town? And how do they kind of fit into her story?
Yeah, so Callie came to New Hampshire from Seattle when she was looking for long lost family that she found through the help of a DNA kit. So the first person that the DNA test connected her to was Tristan, who turned out to be I don't know, I have it written down somewhere, first cousin twice removed, or second cousin one times removed, something like that. Anyway, so Callie and Tristan were connected. She contacted him. He was willing to talk. They started talking on the phone all the time. He's the one that convinced her to come out. He lives in Boston. He convinced her to come out and meet his grandparents, who are her great aunt and uncle. His grandpa, who is Uncle Will, is Callie's dad's uncle, though they've never met. So when she got out there, she fell in love with them. That's why she decided to stay. And we have her in New Hampshire now teaching goat yoga. So Tristan, even though he lives in Boston, he's a hairdresser. It's not that far. It's about a 3 hour drive, 2 to 3 hour drive. And she's constantly convincing him to come down and go to the fair with her, for instance, and goats just want to have fun. It's her first real rural county fair. And so she says, come on down. You gotta experience this with me. So there's Tristan. And he is her loyal sidekick, snarky loyal sidekick. And then there's Aunt Ellen and Uncle Will, who are her great aunt and uncle. And when I first was brainstorming this series, I really thought Uncle Will was going to be her sidekick more than he turned out to be. I mean, Uncle Will and Aunt Ellen are still there, and they're very supportive of her and of Tristan, and there's just this whole big old ball of family love there. But Uncle Will's more in the background than he is what I initially thought he was going to be.
He's enjoying life.
He's trying.
I love hearing about like the ideas that we have going forward, and then how our characters eventually take over. So often I will create a character that I'm like, oh, like this person's going to be like my antagonist for the series. And then I'm like, actually, I really like them and I'm going to give them a redemption arc and they will they'll be friends and all of that good stuff. So it's cool to see how things take on a new life. And before we talk about the county fair, because I also have fun memories of that as a child, I do want to say hello to Elle, who is joining. So happy that you made it as well, Elle. And then Ryan says, haven't heard of your books, Paula, but they sound really interesting. So you've definitely piqued Ryan's interest with our conversation. So this rural county fair, let's kind of set the scene for folks about what the difference between a like country fair and maybe just like a fair on the outskirts of town. I remember when I was a little kid, we lived on the panhandle of Florida, and there was it was like a small like amusement park area that like would pop up during the summer, and we'd go and there are rides and like a couple like games of like guess your weight and guess like what year you were born, all that stuff. Then we moved to Maine, and the fair takes an entirely different turn with like lawnmower races, demolition derbies, all kinds of like livestock things happening. I remember there was one contest that I did as a kid where I'm driving a riding lawnmower and holding an egg on a spoon and like not dropping drop the egg. Yeah, and trying to cross the finish line. So there's like a lot of fun stuff that you can have happen at a fair. Tell us a little bit about Callie's experience and the fun and maybe the not so fun things that happened to her there.
Yeah. So like Sarah said, the county fair is the rural county fair. It's really, animal centric, really. There's lots of animal barns. You've got all of your farm animals that kids and even adults have brought to show to win ribbons in confirmation and showmanship. And sometimes some county fairs there will be an actual auction where the animals are auctioned off. I did not go there with this one, but then there's the other vendor buildings so Aunt Ellen has brought her canned goods, her quilting, there's all these other exhibits. There's photography. There's just all kinds of things that you can enter if you live in the county. That's what it's for. And you can win ribbons. And so that's what, Callie's excited to experience. She's experienced the big fair, like in the county or the state fair, which is some of the same, but just on a much larger level. So she was excited for her first rural fair with all the animals, the carnival rides, the corn dogs, let's be honest. She really wanted her corn dogs and her cotton candy and just like all of the different events, like Sarah said. So opening night at the Lupin County Fair, as you can see, there's some pigs here they have little racing vests on and they're on a track. And Bugsy, for some reason, must have gotten out because he's standing in the middle of the track. He really kind of needs to move, but he's in the way. So the draw of opening night of the fair is pig races. And it's exactly what you see here. They're little pigs, and they have been trained to, when they come out of their chutes, to run around, because when they get back, they get a treat. And so, and it's a real thing. and it's a lot of fun. And the
Hmm.
pigs have all kinds of fun names like Herbie Hambone and uh, Petunia Pork Chop, just all kinds of fun stuff. And you can bet on the pigs, on the pig races. So they're really looking forward to that. And that's unfortunately where our murder happens. The owner of the Hasty Hogs starts, all of the races have gone on. We're at the final now, the final championship with the four fastest pigs. And the owner of the Hasty Hogs uses a starter gun to start the race. The gun explodes. It's been tampered with, and he's killed right on the track in front of all of the spectators.
Ooh, that's a murder that starts with a bang.
It
Um,
did.
I I love the setting that you have given us for this because not only is it like something fun and unique, but it's also just like a taste of life that like not a lot of people like get to experience. I always kind of have to check myself because it's like not everybody grew up having the type of experiences that I did. And like you're talking about
Exactly.
pig races, and it's like they're I mean they'll race anything I think that moves.
Yeah.
It's like we've
Yeah.
seen like duck races, bunny races, pig races, they
Turtle.
just turtles, hamster, like any type
Yeah.
guinea pigs. Yeah, they're
Wiener dog. I always think it's funny. Yeah, the
and,
wiener dog races, and they call them that.
and it's just like it's such like it's such a cool thing to be able to experience, and so the fact that you kind of bring it to life in such a fun way for your readers is just wonderful. And we've got some
Thank you.
comments popping up in the chat for you, Paula. We have Elle saying, "Love all these memories of country fairs and lumberjacks." Sarah says, "I can't wait to get goats. Just want to have fun now." Ryan says, "I live in South Dakota. We have a few country fairs in the state." Which he's been to. And then Elle says, opening night at a fair really does sound like a fun mystery setting. So yeah, the atmosphere that you use to kind of kick things off is just super fun. And how does Callie, I'm always interested like what your thought process is, you know, every time that we have a mystery, and I think it definitely gets easier as our sleuths continue to solve more and more crime, because it's like, okay, like I've solved 4 mysteries already. Like, obviously, I'm going to get involved in this next one. But I think
Yeah.
the second one is actually the hardest, like, reason to kind of tinker with. And I'm curious if you ran into any issues trying to figure out, like, okay, like, how can I make it so that Callie is invested in this mystery so much that my readers they're along for the ride and they're like, yes, like, she should be involved in this. Because with Donna, we have like, this kind of understanding that's like, she's going to do it anyway. And she also has like the chief of police signing off on it. Callie's a little bit different. So how did you choose to frame her interest in this one?
So, and you're absolutely right. That is something, I think it's one of the hardest things, especially in the beginning of a series, the
Hmm.
first few books in a series. There's got to be a reason. They can't just be, oh, I'm going to go solve this murder, because have you ever done that?
Hmm.
I haven't.
Not yet.
No, maybe. But so with this book, there is one of the suspects ends up being Sweet Pete, and we have
Um,
met Sweet Pete in book 1 in an escape goat. Him and his wife Claire own the Sweet Pete's ice cream shop, and Callie ends up spending a lot of time there. She's always, she's in town, and she makes some
Ice
reason
cream.
to go get an ice cream.
Hmm.
And so at the fair, Sweet Pete, for the fair, he's got a food truck
Hmm.
trailer where he does his big focus at the fair is snow cones, but he also has ice cream as well. So he ends up finding, so we know that the murder gun was tampered with, or
Hmm.
murder gun, I should say. The starter guns don't normally kill people, but this one was tampered with. There was explosives put inside of it. And what happens is Sweet Pea, and this is not a spoiler, it's just how Callie gets involved. Sweet Pete ends up finding the container that the TNT had been in inside
Oh
his snow
yeah.
cone stand.
Hmm.
So he takes it to the police, and just for lack of, they don't have any other suspects, he is questioned hard and
Hmm.
kind of is a suspect because they don't know where else to go at this point. So Sweet Pea and Callie have become friends because she frequents his ice cream shop so often that he knows that she was involved in helping find the killer in an escape goat. So he comes to her and says, "You have to help me."
Mhm.
And at first she was like, I don't know. I don't think I can. And he really begs her. And Tristan says, "Yeah, we have to help." And
Mhm.
so there she is.
I think that that's such like a clever way to not only insert Callie, but also give your like whole mystery its first suspect. Because I think oftentimes that, and maybe this just comes from the fact that like I listen to so many true crime podcasts, but like the
Right.
first person that like has any connection whatsoever to a case, like they're going to be like really interrogated. So it's not like the stretch of an imagination to think that like Pete would be under suspicion for, it's like, oh, like his fingerprints are on this item and it was found in his thing. How convenient. Like that's actually like
Right.
a very like real scenario that I can see playing out, and this poor man having this suspicion like lingering
Yeah.
over him.
And he's bringing it to us, but what a better cover. He thinks that he's
Yeah.
covering his own tracks by bringing it to us.
Exactly. And so
Yeah.
I think that's really, really clever. And
Thank
so
you.
we have, I am like thinking about both Donna and Callie and how like both books we like kick off with like really fun, like events that are centered to their specific locations. You've got your rural New England fair, you've got your northwest, I almost said northeast, Northwest Pacific like lumber celebration. Like I think that that's just like such a great way to capture the mood of a cozy mystery and then move everything forward. Because and I'm kind of rethinking this now, because like I usually put my festivals like at the end of the book to like
Oh,
culminate in things, but it's like, wow, like having them like
like that
right,
too.
like putting them right at the beginning, which I guess I kind of do in this next Coco Klein book. Sorry, I'm getting off topic. But I think it's just like such a fun way to like,
We're always thinking, how do
yeah,
you
like
do it?
throw your
Yeah.
readers into this like immersive experience. Because like there's like one thing that I think you do so well is like we kick off the mystery like right away. We're not like kind of like, dilly-dallying our way to figuring out what's going on. It's like, hey, we're here and this mystery is happening. So that was a long-winded way of saying that you're wonderful and that everybody
thank
should
you.
check out both your Hometown Hardware series and your Zen Goat Mysteries, because they're fabulous and fun. And we also have Mizan chiming in with, I love it when it begins with a festival. So I'm going to have to consider that for my future writing plans. Paula, tell us what's next. You've had two releases relatively, like both books were out relatively recent.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And Ask Me No Questions came out late January, and Ghosts Just Want to Have Fun came out late February.
That's right. Okay.
Yeah,
So
about a month apart.
can you tease us what we have to look forward to in your writing world?
Yes. So the third Zen Goat, I'm contracted for 3 in the series, so we know there'll be 3. I have no idea what will happen after that. We will see. But it is written. It's been written for a little bit, and it's just sitting on my computer waiting for August when I send it to my publisher. So it's sitting there. I'm not ready to give titles or anything yet, but it will be set in the fall. Not at a lumberjack contest.
Okay. That is you have given us so many hints as to what we can expect. I'm just kind of going through my head right now, like, okay, like how, like what is the pun going to be for the title? So I can't wait to hear that reveal. But what about Donna? What's next for Donna?
Donna, I just yesterday? What is today? It's Wednesday. No, I think it was Monday evening. I finished the first draft of the third Donna book.
Oh, yay. We both finished on the same day. That's exciting.
Yes, exciting. It needs a whole lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
It's very light in word count. I always come in, I write light and then have to go back and read and see where all of my plot holes are, my mistakes, and what I'm missing, and then I tend to write the mystery and not put in the other side arcs as much as they should be. So I have to go back and add all of that. So there's work to be done for sure. But it is hopefully going to actually be coming out late October, and it is a Christmas theme.
Oh, I love it. I am so excited. I, again, can't wait for that title pun as well. I feel your pain on like figuring out. I tend to be, I write too much and then I just keep writing. So like I like rarely ever am a person that like, oh, like my draft, I can cut it down. I just like don't have the like, I don't have the capacity to do that. But for this particular book, I was like, I'm only going to write 60,000 words so that I can like keep pushing it. And you're right. Like all of these like side arcs and things that I just like need to flesh out. It's like, oh my gosh, I've already added like 5,000 words. And it's like, oh, this book is going to be still be so long.
And which book is that?
This is the third one in the Book Blogger Mysteries. So we're both working our way through book 3, which in the past, I feel like has been like a non-event for me. But for some reason, this particular one, like capturing that, like the essence of the first 2 and like trying to harness everything together into something that feels new, but still the same is, it's tricky. So I wish you the best of luck. I'm sure you're going to knock it out of the park for our next Donna book. But tell our viewers how they can stay connected with you online, website, newsletter, all of that good stuff.
Sure. My website is super easy. It's just paulacharles.com. So simple. On my website, there's multiple places that you can sign up for my newsletter. They're like everywhere at the top of the page, the bottom of the page, they're everywhere. And that is always the best place because our social medias don't actually belong to us. And I say that because Sarah knows I was hacked really bad right after my first book came out and lost everything on my social media and had to start fresh. So newsletter is always a great place to know that you're connected because we own those ourselves. But on social media now, because of that hacking, I am not as Paula Charles. I'm Rainy Day Mysteries, which I might have to figure out a way to remedy that at some point. But Rainy Day Mysteries on both Facebook and Instagram.
Perfect.
And then also I am one of the 10 bloggers sort of in the Facebook group that's called Murder They Write. And if you have not joined us yet, please come over. We're small but growing. We have guest author takeovers on most Tuesdays, and it's just a lot of fun. So.
It is a lot of fun. I can testify to that. I've been there since the beginning. And also, folks, exciting that in the fall, our very first Bookish Hour is going to be the full or most of the authors that are in the Murder They Write group. So we're going to have like a big, fun, cozy mystery roundtable. It'll be super exciting, a fun way to kick off the year. But yes, Paula's address is in our show notes. And to clarify, paulacharles.com also has information about the stuff that you've written as Janna Rollins.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes.
One-stop shop.
Yeah, there's 2 book pages, Paula Charles books, Janna Rollins books.
Excellent.
Yes.
All right. Well, Paula, as all like time just flies too quickly during these moments. I'm so glad you got to stop by. We got to catch up and see what's going on in your world, Donna's world, Callie's world. It's always wonderful, wonderful to chat with you. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks so much for having me. You always ask great questions. And
Thank you. And to our wonderful viewers who joined us, always appreciate your comments, you guys. Thank you so much for sharing your time with us this afternoon. If you're watching us after the fact, you can feel free to leave additional comments and we'll get back to you on our videos. We will be back next week with a few shows. I believe our first one is Tuesday afternoon at 4:30 p.m. Eastern. We're going to be joined by Libby Klein. We're going to be talking about her new book, Vice and Virtue. And it might be Wednesday. I can't remember. It's someday next week. The 27th, I think, is the day. So we'll be back with more bookish fun. But until then, everybody, have a great rest of your week and stay bookish, everybody. Bye. Have a good one. Bye.